In the fall of 2004, 22-year-old Army Corporal Jonathan Santos was sent to Iraq, taking with him a diary and a video camera to document his time in war.
I'm here the day after I got my wisdom teeth pulled.
Like many young men, Jonathan was filled with goals and ambitions, things he wrote down and expressed on camera with his friends. But only 38 days after he arrived, Jonathan was killed in a roadside attack, along with others in his unit. The only sole survivor was his friend Private Matthew Drake, who suffered a massive head wound.
There's Drake. This is Private First Class Drake. He makes about as much as a Haitian dock worker. Where do you want to be right now, Rich? So above poverty level. Yeah. I see what you're saying now.
When a trunk full of his personal belongings arrived at his home in Bellingham, Washington, his mother Doris Pangilinan Kent was surprised to find he documented his time in Iraq.
It was a gift. It was a gift to our family. And when I realized that other people needed to see this, and when my teenagers said, "Mom, you know, we need to let other people read this journal so that they'll understand what life was like for a soldier."
Soon after, Doris says she was approached by an independent filmmaker that turned Jonathan's story into 3 movies, with the most recent film released in October called The Corporal's Diary. The movie also was featured on ABC's Good Morning America on Thanksgiving. But what many people do not know is that Jonathan is also from Guam and native to the village of Santa Rita. In fact, Jonathan's aunt and uncles gathered together to tell us how they remembered their nephew. His auntie Cristina Alvarez says Jonathan left the island with his mom and 2 brothers, Jared and Justin, when he completed middle school in Petey. She says Jonathan loved being outside and believes The Corporal's Diary allows people to get to know him a little better.
We're just an ordinary family, and we have this special fallen soldier. And this is the part of war that the media doesn't see and doesn't know about the kind of pain that families go through.
Probably the closest out of the 3 to Jonathan was his uncle Felix Pangilinan. He says his son and Jonathan are the same age, and Jonathan also lived with them before leaving Guam. Uncle Felix remembers fond memories of Jonathan being proud of accidentally getting a black eye from a baseball, to the time his sister Doris called to tell him Jonathan joined the Army.
She called me up and she goes, "My boy's gonna join the Army," and I was like, really? Because Jonathan, being sports-wise and outdoors, but he was also a very good scholar.
John Pangilinan also remembers his nephew and was there in Washington when his siblings buried him in 2004. He says he sympathizes with his sister Doris and feels a film for him and the family is a way to help them move on.
It's going to be helping, us as a family to, grieve and then let go of it, because she's suffering a lot, I think a little bit too much.
Although she couldn't be with us in person, Jonathan's mom, who still lives in Washington, says her hope is that those serving our country leave as many gifts to their families, like what Jonathan has done for theirs.
Jonathan left us, video footage that had his voice and his laughter and his smile, and, and I could hear him and see him. And he left this journal that, when I'm reading it and the boys are reading it, it's like he's talking.
Doris is now an advocate against the war in Iraq with other mothers, and according to her sister Christina, the wounds from losing Jonathan are still fresh.
It's very difficult not to think about Jonathan and his mother Doris. My sister up till now, the part of my sister that I see, even though she's advocating publicly and nationwide throughout the United States, the part of my sister that I see still suffers so. And that's a part of my sister that I know.
When we asked Jonathan's relatives what they had to say to their fallen hero if he was still with them, they had this to say.
Probably have a barbecue.
There you go.
enjoy life,
What would I tell him? When are you coming back to Guam? I miss the activities. Miss you so much, especially during this holiday season.
Jonathan was here, I tell him I'm very proud of him. That because I was so close to him while they were here that I'd be at a loss for words.
Doris says although making the film hasn't helped her to move on, knowing others are watching helps her to heal from her loss.
The more people that see this film the more people that will be compelled not just to remember those who, made the ultimate sacrifice, but they'll also remember the veterans who come home